Welcome back. Just how rare is it for a teenager to have a stroke? According to the American Heart Association, 11 children per 100,000 will have a stroke. Well, there are risk factors like head injury, dehydration, obesity, high blood pressure, and diabetes. In hundreds of cases each year, the cause of strokes are to those age 16 and 49 are unknown. And joining us for more is Mitchell SANDLIN, his mother Misty, and Dr. Carla Torres, a neurologist with the First Physicians Group at Sarasota Memorial Hospital. And we have to say, Mitchell is a former teammate of my son Aaron's at the Orlando Scorpions, and they got to know each other the last couple of years. And you know, I've watched Mitchell many times on the pitcher's mound, and he is incredible. So a couple months ago, when I was sitting with your dad, Bill, and he told me this story, I was actually blown away. And I know you told it to Adam, but what was the first indication that something was not right?
Well, it was when my finger went numb. I did not know where I was at, and my upper right eye went blind, and I was just feeling dizzy, and I couldn't really spell anything on my phone. So. Right,
and it was at the baseball field, right?
Yes.
And you went home, and I know I talked to Bill about this, that you just thought that Mitchell was having a migraine of some sort.
Yes, a family history of migraines. He's never had a headache before, really, to note, but it just seemed like some of the symptoms were migraine related.
And how long did this go on until you realized that this was not your ordinary migraine?
Honestly, it went on for about 3 days. He stayed home from school the next day. We took him to the pediatrician, who he thoroughly checked out Mitch and thought as well, perhaps it is his first migraine. And then he went to school the next day. It wasn't a very stressful day at school, so he didn't have a lot of work to do. And then he was playing catch-up on Saturday in regards to schoolwork with my husband, and could not focus, couldn't read simple words, had trouble with math issues. And then we thought, hey, maybe this is something more, and we took him to Sarasota Memorial Hospital to basically check into it further.
And Mitchell, I mean, I could only imagine what was going through your mind. I mean, you know, what were your emotions?
I definitely cried for a little bit. I was sad. I thought it was something I thought it was gonna be something much worse, and I thought it was the end result is death. But then I kind of relaxed when I found out it was a stroke.
Dr. Torres, the literature says one of the most difficult part in this is the recognition of what is happening, because you would never assume that a kid this age is having a stroke.
Absolutely. In pediatric patients, it's even harder to diagnose a stroke because you don't think of the typical symptoms. Kids don't present those. When you think about a stroke in an adult, you're thinking, you know, facial droop, the arm drift. You're thinking about the speech disturbance. You don't think about dizziness or maybe a visual change as being a sign of a stroke. So it's definitely harder for it to be diagnosed. Plus, kids usually don't have strokes.
And as we said at the beginning here, there's a good number of cases where you'll never know what the actual cause is. But you know, we talked about in Adam's story that Mitchell has subsequently been diagnosed with diabetes, and there may be a heart issue. Those are leading contributors?
Absolutely. Even in young kids, it could be congenital heart disease. It could be things like sickle cell anemia. Problems in the blood, clotting disorders in the blood can contribute. An abnormality in the heart, like a patent foraminal which is a small hole in the heart.
Misty, just tell us, in a couple of moments, just the journey that you went in through, not just to treat him, but to find out all the answers you needed to.
Absolutely. Basically, I reached out to the pharmaceutical company I work for. They got me connected with a Mayo Clinic here locally, and the doctors there basically ruled out atrial fib. They took a closer look at his heart, ruled out pulmonary embolisms in his lungs. We also reached out and used other resources, such as a mutual friend that we have with baseball that knew Dr. Concha, who's leading stroke neurologist here locally, And he wanted to take a closer look at Mitch's heart, and he basically did a transcranial Doppler, which is a bubble test. It's a little bit more sensitive than the test that they did in the hospital at All Children's. And an emboli came through, which just suggested that maybe he does have a PFO. So we were able to basically get a transesophageal echo, which is just a closer look at his heart, was diagnosed with a very small PFO, and then the journey to CHOP.
And that's a small hole in the heart?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're going to pick up this conversation in just a moment. We are just getting started, but we'll be back right after we check the weather. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are discussing strokes among children and teenagers. Our guests tonight are Mitchell Sandlin, his dad Bill, and Dr. Carla Torres, a neurologist with the First Physicians Group of Sarasota Memorial Hospital. Mitchell, first, as you were recovering from this, where was your desire to actually return to baseball?
Honestly,
I think within probably about 2 weeks or 3 weeks after visiting with the stroke team and kind of looking at some of the options that he had out there, his desire was there. His question was
if I could still play baseball.
If he could still play baseball.
And doctor, I mean, when you're dealing with young people who have suffered this, what are your considerations? What should parents be aware of? And is, you know, how often is the outcome as good as it turned out to be here?
Well, quite often, thankfully, the brain, as Dr. Concha mentioned earlier in his interview, in kids or teenagers, there's plasticity, so that brain has that ability to make those connections utilizing other neurons in other areas. So the recovery, a lot of the times, it's almost nearly complete, where you would be able to look at a patient and not really tell that they've had a stroke. So outcome in teenagers, kids, is quite often very, very good.
So Bill and Mitchell, tell me about the rehabilitation. Where did you go? What did you do? And how did you make it back out to the field?
we went to All Children's Hospital and All Children's in Sarasota, and we did speech rehab, some physical things, and
From there, from the baseball side of it, we would start out after we were cleared that he could actually play baseball. And it did take a little convincing on our part to the doctors that he's a pitcher only. Let's see if he can get back on the mound. A lot of work in the front yard, just him and I throwing back and forth to each other. From there, he had a pitching coach that was here locally that he'd worked with previously up until a stroke, and we re-engaged with him. Worked with him basically on a weekly basis all the way up until summer ball, which started with all of us here last year. And then from that first part of summer, a Memorial Day weekend, was basically his first time on the mound. So that was about a 2.5 months from not being on the mound. He went up on a scrimmage game, and I think he was very apprehensive to be out on the field and on the mound, but he made it through his 2 innings. And needed some work, as he could tell and we could tell, and I think most of it was in the vision part of it. And one of the secrets we kept from everyone was that he couldn't see the catcher's glove. I basically kept it between him and myself, and nobody else knew about it, because I knew that that could be rehabbed, and I didn't want it to get in the way from any coaching aspect side of the baseball.
I mean, how scary is that? Because when you're releasing the ball, you not only you want to see where the ball is going, but you're also there's a chance that the ball is going to come right back at you.
it's very scary, actually. That's what I was thinking about most of the time, and I was also nervous that I was going to hit a bunch of hitters in a row and fail the team, really. So.
Which it did happen. I mean, he did, his first outing, he did hit a few more than he's ever hit probably in his life. And some of the kids, you know, knew that what had happened to him within, so they kind of, I think, gave him a little bit of a break.
Doctor, how often do kids who have strokes like this are able to make it back to basically sports that are not only competitive, but baseball, like football and basketball, these are contact sports?
Very often, I don't have an exact percentage, but like I said before, very often, because a lot of the times they're able to recover completely from the deficits, especially patients who have a visual field deficit, a lot of the times are able to recover their vision quite to the point where they're able to compensate for that lack of vision that would remain. A lot of them can completely regain most of their vision where it doesn't affect them anymore. It takes time, weeks, months, but it's definitely something that can be done.
And that's what I'd hope for, that he could compensate for that vision or gain it back after talking to the doctors, because I guess within about a month of his stroke, we did go through a battery of eye tests and realized that there was going to be a deficit, not knowing how long this would take.
Where does it stand now?
Back about 7 to 8 months after the stroke, we had it retested, and he was about a 3 to 4% deficit in the upper right quadrants of both eyes, which is excellent. I mean, as good as vision as most of us have. So that was a blessing, and allowed him to drive again too,
right,
which was another.
Especially for a
teenager who
Mitchell,
just.
when did you feel that you were back normal on the mound and able to compete like you were before, and what did that feel like?
It was in the middle of the summer, and that was when I gained back some weight, some muscle, and I didn't have any deficit in my eye. And it felt great, honestly. I was so excited. I wanted to play baseball all the time, like every day. It was
And as you
nice.
well know, travel ball in the summer, we have tournaments every weekend.
Right.
So we did throughout the summer. When we were back home, he would work out either at the gym, personal trainer, on the field, myself, with his pitching instructor. And we did a lot at the house, just throwing in the nets, throwing the targets.
Right now, as we said earlier, this may or may not have been caused by a heart issue, a small hole in the heart. What's the treatment for that, and are there any long-term implications for it?
There is some treatments out there at his age and the size of the hole in the heart. We opted out of doing that now just because of the size of it and the difficulty to get in there and repair it. And talking to, as my wife said earlier, we did a little bit more research on it, follow up with other institutes, and it was kind of leave it alone unless something happens again, was really because you could do a little bit more damage by trying to repair it at the size of the hole.
Right. Now, doctor, is this something that patients are eventually going to have to deal with?
A lot of the times we opt not to repair those, we leave the decision up to the cardiology team, but we communicate with each other and voice our opinions. But a lot of the times these patent foraminal volleys, or PFOs, are not surgically repaired. A lot of the times patients go on a baby aspirin kind of daily regimen, and some patients go on blood thinners or anticoagulation.
Now, we talked about that this only happens to about 11 out of every 100,000
yes.
young people, but how often do you see that here in Sarasota?
Well, I'm an adult neurologist, so a lot of the times I'm not seeing pediatric, so I can't really comment. We see lots of strokes at Sarasota Memorial in our older patients.
And a lot of different causes.
Absolutely.
All right.
A lot of them are still cryptogenic, where we don't know the cause, though.
Right. And Mitchell, what would you say to young people who, whether it's a stroke or something else, want to make it back to what they were doing before?
Keep on trying. It's all about consistency and just not letting that little voice in your head that's telling you to give up, don't give into it, and just do what you want to do. Don't let anything stop you.
All right, let's take a quick break, and when we return, we'll have final thoughts from our guests, plus what some of our viewers are saying about last night's topic, AQUA by the Bay. Strokes can happen to just about anyone, but they're rare among children and teenagers. But they do happen. Mitchell Sandlin is a prime example of that, suffering one at age 16. What can you do to lower your risk for yourself and your family? Our guests join us right now for final thoughts. And I guess the obvious question, doctor, is what do you look out for?
You look for headaches, you look for dizziness, for weakness on one side of your body, numbness, tingling, slurred speech, word finding difficulty. Bottom line, if you think that your child or a loved one is having a stroke, get them to the hospital, or even something neurologic. Not necessarily, it may not cross your mind, but if you think there's a problem, take them to the hospital, take them to the emergency room.
And Bill, I can only imagine what a parent goes through, number one, to save their child, make sure that they recover, let alone get back to what they were doing before.
Yeah, it's a little overwhelming from the standpoint of finding out your child has had a stroke, from that journey to get them from where they were to where he is now. It's a long journey. We've had the support of friends, family, or faith. It's all what I can do is tell a parent is, believe in your kids, give them the opportunity to do what they want to do, and help them succeed with their goals.
And you should be proud of this one.
Yeah.
Mitchell, final words from you in terms of being able to get back to the sport that you loved for so many years now, and to graduate with your high school class.
It was very important to me to graduate with my high school class and to finish up my high school baseball career. And what I would say to other people that are going through hard times and want to continue what they were doing before is, if I can do it, you can do it, and you could even do it better.
Okay, that's a great place to leave it. Thank you very much for being here. But before we go, we want to share with you what some of our viewers are saying about last night's topic, AQUA by the Bay. The proposed 2,900 home development would be built on the largest remaining stretch of mangrove-lined shore on Sarasota Bay. It's the pet project of developer Carlos Baruf, who originally pushed to develop the site as Long Bar Point. The new proposal is heading back to the Planning Commission after it was revealed commissioners were not aware of the actual size of the project. Here's what some of you are saying. Ron Quinn writes, this developer changes the name and is trying to shove it down our throats again. Let's see how much money talks again and BS walks. There goes the last pristine waterfront. Way too much development in Manatee County. Kiki Louise writes, it will make the county much more financially prosperous and save the preserve. Hashtag enough said. And Jen Brantley writes, people need to pay attention to who they're voting into office. These county commissioners are approving every last piece of land in this area to be developed. It's disgusting. Has someone in your family suffered a stroke? Were they young when it happened? Join tonight's conversation by visiting our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. And FYI, you can watch past roundtable discussions on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. Thanks to our guests for being here tonight, Mitchell and Bill Sandlin and their mom, Misty, and Dr. Carla Torres, a neurologist with First Physicians Group at Sarasota Memorial Hospital.